Hello, welcome to another Gamasutra video interview. Today I'm talking to Ian Hardingham from Mode 7 Games about Frozen Endzone, which I guess is a sort of sequel to Frozen Synapse. Is that what you're calling it?
Follow-up, I'd say.
Follow up.
Not a direct sequel, but
Yeah.
a lot of the same kind of ideals, but in a different setting, and replacing guns with balls.
Yeah. Yeah. That's sort of the big change, I guess. So probably what we should probably start off doing, we'll set a game in motion, and while we're doing that, do you want to sort of give like a brief outline of, I guess the both Frozen Synapse and Frozen Endzone, given that this sort of moves on from that one?
Yeah, sure. So the key concept to these games, Frozen Synapse and Frozen Endzone, is that it's a turn-based game, but you and your opponent are making your plans at the same time, and then the plans are played out at the same time. So it's rather than I go and then you go, we're both going at the same time, and it's a really interesting sort of paradigm. Something that I found really exciting from when I first encountered it with Laser Squad Nemesis about 10 years ago.
Mhm.
It really allows for a lot more sort of feinting, a lot more surprise tactics, and a lot more prediction. It's really allows for a very hardcore kind of mental competitive game, and I've always wanted to have really fast-paced but really interesting sort of tactical games. And I find a lot of traditional tactical games are very long-winded and can be a bit boring, and are often very similar at the start. Like the first 10-15 minutes of a lot of these games are often exactly the same, and it's really important to me that the start of a new game is always completely different. If you look at the best card games like poker or bridge, I'm a particular fan of bridge, you find that one of the things which spurs you to keep playing more and more hands is that it's dramatically different at the start of each new hand. And that's really one of the sort of the core principles. So as we've loaded up this game, you'll see that this is in full effect right from the start. So we have a completely random play field that's generated every single time you play a new game,
Yeah.
with different formations. And this is sort of the core game mode for quicker play. It's called duplicate, or we call it duplicate internally. And what happens is that we play the same map twice. So you're in blue and you're going to be on offense. The ball is this in this white circle at the top, and you're going to try and score as many points as you can. And then once you've done that, the map will be reversed, and I'm going to play the same thing.
Yeah. So I'm essentially scoring points by getting my blue guys here in sort of a turn-based fashion. One of them grabs the ball, chooses to lob it to the others who are moving around the map, and then if I can get it into one of these, either to the end zone, which is at the bottom, the blue bottom, or if I can get it into one of these highlighted squares, then I score points essentially.
Yeah, that's right, and it's all really interesting like sub mechanics here. So if you just go for 3 points in your offense, so that we call them the mid zones, that the larger squares, then I only have to get 4 or more points to beat you. Whereas if you go for 7 points, or you try and get one of those little bonus zones, and they're each worth 2 points if you score at the end. Then if you succeed, it's going to be a much harder job for me. But if you fail, then maybe I can win with just getting 3 points. So it's sort of layers and layers of tactics there.
Yeah, and I mean we've got sort of so like following on from Frozen Synapse, so you've got this whole you can move your guys around, you can check, you can press the play button to see where they might go, and then when you're completely happy with your move, you're hitting this prime button, which is then basically molding together both my turn and your turn into a full turn of the game essentially.
That's right.
So I guess what we'll do then is I'll just try and grab this ball, and so obviously for people who are watching, Ian can't see what I'm doing, and I can't see what he's doing, so I've got to sort of try and guess where I should go. And also, just to warn people watching, I am kind of awful at this game, but I was also awful at Synapse as well, so that's not massively surprising. Okay, so I can sort of press play and my guys will run around. I can also kind of guess where I think you're going to make these guys run, And so the mechanics are that if two players collide with each other, then is it the defensive people who are able to overcome the offensive?
Yes, the core mechanic is that when you're stationary, you control the area around you.
Okay.
So as long as I can get to a space before you can, and remain stationary there, then I can control that area. So the idea is that when you move, you're really gambling, because you want to change location, but as soon as you start moving, you're really vulnerable. So it's quite a simple core mechanic, but I think all the best game mechanics are really, and it produces sort of really interesting interactions. Yeah.
Right. So I might as well just prime then, and I'm guessing then we're going to.
Yeah, I'm just putting.
Okay, so so you're putting in your turns now, and we'll see what happens here then.
Well, nothing much happens in the first turn.
Oh, of course, yeah, because I'm just grabbing the ball, yeah.
So something nice about this game that I'm quite proud of is that we have these dynamic turn lengths. So the turns break. We call it a turn break when something interesting happens. So, for instance, picking up the ball, getting tackled. The ball being caught or hitting the ground, that kind of thing. So again, it adds some interesting tactical ideas. So you went straight to pick up the ball straight away, but you actually could have waited a long time to let your guys get in position and made a gamble that I wasn't going to run towards you, that kind of thing.
Yeah. Yeah. So so then, once I picked up the ball, then I either have to pass it or I can run. And if I choose to run, I think this is right. If I choose to run, I can't pass anymore. Then that guy then has to go for it, essentially.
Yeah, that's right. So basically, once you've chosen to run with the ball carrier, you're kind of calling the player at that point. You're saying, I'm just going to run and see how far I can get, and then it'll be the end of the play.
Right.
And I have to work out.
Oh, hang on, I'm messing this up. Right. So if I drag that, hang on. Right, and so that there is me throwing the ball. Not that I'm throwing the ball. I might not be throwing the ball. Who knows?
Tension.
Oh goodness, let me think. Where am I going to go? Let's do a bit of that maybe. Right. Yeah. Okay. Let's prime that then. So one thing I'm kind of interested in. So obviously you guys are a UK studio, and this is pretty much American football, right? So I mean, what was kind of the thought behind that? What made you go from Frozen, like shooting people in a tactical shooter, to throwing an American football around?
Well, I mean, it's something important that we sort of want to communicate is that it kind of looks a bit like American football. It's got the same shape ball, you throw it in the same way, but the rules are completely different. It's just sort of inspired by like the aesthetics of American football. But having said that, I'm a giant NFL fan. I think it's a really exciting, like exotic sport. It's got a lot of sort of weird rules, and it's really fun and really violent. And I just wanted to make something that felt a bit like that, but had a bit of a future sport aesthetic. I like the idea of having robots. They can be really violent to each other, but you don't actually have human violence, that kind of thing. Yeah, it does seem like a strange one, but a lot of my friends are big football fans, and we just thought it would be something fun to do.
Yeah. Oh, good. I'm a bit stuck now. I think I'm fairly certain I'm going to get caught here, but we'll have a crack anyway. Let's see what I can do. I'm just out. It's the whole like trying to guess where you're going to go style thing that really sort of gets me, because I find that I'm not very good at trying to guess where people are going to go, if you know what I mean. It's I can in my head I can go, right, I'm going to go there and there, and then I'll easily, but then by the time I've done that, you've just taken up all the space I was going to use. So.
Well, I mean, the best way to play the game, I think, is you basically you start off by pretending you're the other team and work out exactly what you would do if you were the other team, and then start working how to get around that. So you really have to like sort of be the opponent and yourself a couple of times. Like if I just play as offense and I don't even think about, if I don't even like take sort of possession of what the defense would do, I tend to lose against our really sort of crazily good beta testers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, right. Okay, so I've committed this move now, and we'll see if that does anything. I'm fairly certain it's not going to, but we'll see. I've managed to beat the computer a couple of times.
That's good.
Which is, you know, kind of laughable.
Oh!
Right. Oh, he's off.
Oh, you managed to find a bug in our camera.
Oh, well, yeah, I was going to say it didn't follow the action, did it? Well, wow, look at this. I need to watch that back now. See how I managed that. Oh right, yeah. Okay. So I'm not sure if I'm going to make this. Let's find out.
System Prime.
It's very cool though. It's sort of like I'm finding that I'm finding it's maybe more accessible than Synapse was, just because, you know, everyone can sort of work out the idea of get a ball from there to here. So, you know, do you know what I mean? Like I found that when I was playing with certain people, oh, on the line. I was finding when I was playing Synapse with certain people, they just sort of wouldn't get it. And I mean, I'm not saying that I completely got it, but some people, there was so many little intricacies to it. And with this, it's more sort of straight talking. Like, you get that ball, take it to there. Obviously, there's a lot of depth to it, but compared to Synapse, I feel like it's a lot more open, really, to a lot more people.
Right. I mean, the key thing that I really wanted to do differently from Synapse was that sort of there was a lot of detail work in Frozen Synapse. You really had to spend a lot of time thinking about the angles, sort of refining your plan to a really large degree, and that was awesome. But I wanted something that I could play when I was a bit more hungover and a bit quicker. And so really, Frozen Endzone, the whole idea was to simplify down the move set. So there are basically sort of hardly any orders in the game. You kind of really just sort of move, stop, and pass. But I really believe that we've kept as much depth as Frozen Synapse, just even with all the characters not having any stats like they do now. And what we're releasing as the first update to the beta is really in-depth variable stats for your players, so you can have speed and strength, and sort of we got 10 or 15 different statistics, and you can edit your own teams, and we're doing all different things with that. But even with this base mode, where all of the players have the same statistics, we find there's a huge amount of depth. So yeah, I'm glad you say that, because that's really what I was trying to achieve. Now, the one area where it's sort of different is that in Frozen Synapse, the base mode, at least you just had to kill the opponents. Yeah. Whereas in this, we have a couple of rules, like the one you were talking about, where once you've decided to run, you can't throw the ball. So it's been quite a challenge to make a tutorial that can communicate that effectively, because all those little rules, they're easy to understand once you've learned the game, but they're pretty hard to pick up early on. So we had to work really hard to get a tutorial that could teach that. But certainly, I really hope that people look at the game and see it's a really easy idea. I need to get the ball from here to here. But then when you start playing, just how difficult that actually is, given what your opponent's doing.
Yeah, I mean, it's definitely one of those games where you have to. It's a lot easier to understand the rules just through playing it over. Because, like, for example, I didn't fully understand the whole you can't run backwards rule, you know, when you've got the ball.
Right.
And so that caught me out when I was playing a game. And now that I know that, I'm going to, you know, sort of make sure that doesn't happen again.
Yeah, exactly. So it's just a case of getting a couple of those rules across. But like you said, the move set is really straightforward. So yeah, I'm just going to be interested to see how people get on with it. Our beta testers, I've been really excited. People have been playing every single day, been playing for a long time, and it certainly seems like it's going well.
Yeah.
But it's always a terrifying time when you first release something like this to the public that you've been working on for over 2 years.
Yeah, I bet. So yeah, for people watching now, we've sort of swapped sides now. So now I'm on defense and trying to stop you from getting anywhere. Which, so yeah, so I guess when you're in defense, it's a case of, like, obviously, like you were saying, if you're stood still, then you're going to take the other person out if they're going past. So it's a case of, well, do I just keep everyone stand still, watch to see what you're doing first? I think I'm going to try and find some good positions. I mean,
Yeah, it's also, you know, when you're standing still, you can also intercept the ball. So you can block entire passing lanes by standing in specific positions.
Yeah. When you're coming up with these games, do you find that you are, like, in any sort of way, like, purposely trying to make something as unique as possible? Because obviously, like, there are loads of strategy games, these turn-based, like, asynchronous games, but I feel like with both of your Frozen games, they're just so much different to anything I've played. Like, I can't, when I'm trying to describe them to other people, I can't go, oh, it's just like this game, because I don't find that there are many games that I can do that with. Do you know what I mean? I mean, do you purposely set out to do that?
I mean, the simple answer to that, I'd say, is probably yes. It's not a case of just wanting to do something different for different sake. But, I mean, you know, why am I making indie games if I just want to make something that's the same as everything else? I mean, I'd say that one of the greatest advantages I have is that I'm incredibly dissatisfied with most games. I get bored incredibly easily. I have like a really low attention span. I pretty much have ADHD, and just so many games don't work for me. So I really just set out to make games that I wanted, and I'm just not interested in making games unless they are original. I mean, to be a successful indie, you have to stand out. And a lot of people, when we first announced Frozen Endzone, said that's a bit of a crazy idea. That's not going to work. And that just made us happy, because as long as everyone thinks we're doing something stupid, they're not going to do the same thing. And I truly believe that people want something new. That's the thing that indie gaming really is about. It's grassroots and it's small teams, and it's true. And it's away from the ridiculousness of a lot of publisher models, but it's something new, something different.
Yeah.
I have to beat you now, otherwise I'm going to be very embarrassed.
I think you will do. My brain is in overtime trying to work out where you're possibly going to go. I'm trying to eye up all the different corners, but I'm bound to miss something. So the plan is that the day this video is going out, which is going to be the 5th December, you're launching the open beta for it, so people can, just like with Frozen signups, people can pay money to essentially be part of the beta and play the game against other people.
That's right.
Excellent. So what's the sort of plan from then on in? Is there do you have a sort of schedule of this many months before we've got this, etc.?
Yeah, so we're going to be doing another really big release in February on Steam, early access, and that's going to have like a lot of new features. So this game, like I say, is called Duplicate, and you're watching this play out. We have another major game mode called Handball. I don't think it's going to stay being called that, which is in this beta, but it's kind of in an unpolished state, and that's a more traditional end-to-end sort of longer form sports game. So you can intercept, you can run the ball back. It's all about territory. It lasts a sort of a longer time, and that's really fun as well. It's quite different. So that's going to be like the headline new mode. We've got a lot of, like I say, statistics going in. So you can just customize your team any way you want, upload them, and that'll be the team that you always play with. We're going to be doing quite a lot of other exciting stuff that I won't talk about too much here to do with that. We're putting in a lot of player customization as well. So you're going to be able to have a home stadium that you can decorate with sort of different stadium furnitures, that kind of thing. So cool. Next sort of that's like our next big release is in February. Although people who get into the beta will be getting like point releases, like unpolished point releases, every couple of weeks. And then after that, we'll probably have done most of the multiplayer content, and then we'll be working on the single player campaign. We're going to have really, really awesome sports story. Going to be quite a lot of roguelike elements, funny as that may sound. And we want to have, just like Frozen Synapse, we wanted to nail the multiplayer and then spend some nice free time making a really, really awesome single player as well.
Yeah. I should point out, actually, to anybody who isn't aware of the Frozen games you're making, that the point of this, so this is asynchronous multiplayer, so even though we're playing against each other, like, sort of on the fly now, you could potentially make your move and then go offline, and then I could come back late. You could come back later, and I'd have made my move, and we can go back and forth like that essentially. I mean, the one thing with regards to that is this whole like as Dan Marshall's put it before, like the curse of the multiplayer indie game. But you guys have managed to seemingly skirt around that kind of thing and actually have big player bases. Do you think it's just because you've gone with asynchronous that it seems to work that way?
Well, our very first game, Determinants, was a real-time sort of 8-player sword fighting game, and I experienced really firsthand what the curse of the multiplayer indie game is. That the real problem was that there was just no one online. You had to have low lag, so I estimated the number of active players you needed to always get a game was probably in the hundreds, because there have to be people playing at the same time as you in the same sort of vague time zone as you. So Frozen Endzone was actually designed from the ground up to survive with few players. All of the features we have, like the traffic light at the bottom left, which allows you to basically find a game, sort of instant matchmaking from anywhere. It actually emails all of us if there's ever fewer than 5 people online and someone can't find a game, and we'll jump on and play with you straight away. So even though we had this great success, and there's usually hundreds of people on the server, the whole thing is designed to never be a dead game. Like, all you need is 2 people online at once to play. So yeah, I know Dan really well. He's a great guy, and we talked a lot about about the problems that he had with gun monkeys and that kind of thing. And it's just the game type. It's a turn-based game. You can play with someone who's in a different continent to you. So I'm really proud of that, but we really designed for that, basically.
Yeah. Well, I'm fairly certain I've lost this one. I didn't exactly plan well. I was planning to block that
pretty good.
sort of channel, but unfortunately your guy pushed me back.
No, I think you did pretty good. I had to. You covered most of my passing options earlier, and I had to do a sneaky run around the side. The core mistake was your guy on the right in turn 2.
Yeah.
He overreached a little bit, so I was able to get into position and
then get behind
myself.
him. Yeah.
And then that basically allowed me to get ownership over that lane. So
yeah, because that was the whole, like, that's me trying to like overthink it essentially. Once it was obvious that you were getting the ball over there, I should have just been holding that position over there really. Yeah, I'd wondered if you were going to, the kind of throw it over the wall up that central pillar and try and get it to that guy. So that's why I was trying to kind of position myself a bit more centrally. But
well, it was a good turn 2, because your top right guy in turn 2 basically gets close enough to where I ended up passing the ball that I didn't have time to pass it, because I think you can tackle me there before I managed to get the ball off. So you put me in a really difficult situation there. So no, I did pretty good. But I'm glad I won.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, one thing I'd like to ask you as well, just before we finish, is just in general about being a developer, kind of smaller developer in the UK, because obviously I'm from the UK as well, and I feel like at the moment, when I'm attending events, etc. in the UK, it feels like we've sort of got a good thing going on at the moment, but it also feels a bit like we have quite a way to go, in terms of having sort of big names like you guys, etc., sort of flying the flag, I guess. I mean, how do you feel like the UK scene is at the moment?
I don't know, I think we've got a pretty amazing scene. Whenever we go to any event in England, especially the London indie scene, it's just really fantastic. There are a lot of really high profile guys, so Introversion, Dan Marshall, a lot of guys, Cliff Harris. You really have a lot of people who not just doing really well at the moment, but have been doing really well for a long time, so have a lot of experience.
Yeah. And
we all know each other. We all take fun out of each other, and we really also give each other advice. And you just go to one of those events and you're guaranteed to have a lot of people to talk to. So I feel really great, because we started doing this 10 years ago, and for the first 7 years or so we were doing this, there wasn't really any scene to speak of, and now it's so vibrant and fantastic. So I really feel happy being part of it.
Yeah. Yeah, yeah, like you say, it definitely feels like it's come on over the last several years. So yeah, it can only be up from here, I guess, which is also always good. Right, well, yeah, thank you very much for taking the time out to destroy me at your game. So yeah, for anybody watching Frozen Endzone, when this video goes out, the beta should have just come out, I guess. So you can go and pay some good monies for that and enjoy yourself with it.
Yeah, go to frozenendzone.com and hit us up on Twitter at Mode7Games. Thanks a lot, Mike.
Excellent. Thanks very much.